Hey guys, it's Mike Monty, one half of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. And we want to reach out to all the fans out there who have supported our show to say thank you. Thank you for making 2021 one of our best years. And one of our best years was because of Anchor. Anchor, the way that you can have your voice heard. You can be just like us. Record your own podcast. Use the Anchor tools to edit your podcast. Use it on a phone. Use it on your computer. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all with Anchor, they're totally free. So be just like Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're looking together for a great 2022. We've got huge guests coming on board. Oh, yeah. You probably wonder why Jimmy's not here right now. Well, he's prepping for one of the best interviews we're about to have, and we're going to surprise someone with. So hang aboard with us, and don't forget, be like us and use Anchor.
Good evening and welcome to Wrestling Rewind. I'm your host, Angel Amoroso, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo. Tommy?
Hey, what's up, Angel? How are you?
And this evening, we are here with actually the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo's protege, Steve Savage. Steve, shall I say hello to everyone?
Angel, hi everybody. Tommy, long time. I know it's been a few hours since we've spoken.
Yeah.
So this evening, we're here to talk about a project, a new project going on that the Iron Man, Tommy Cairo, and Steve Savage have set ahead. It's called the Heart of Wrestling Radio. So, Steve, at first, let's get a little bit of your background in professional wrestling. You know, how'd you get interested in it? You know, who were you trained by? Who have you worked for? Like, what kind of different personalities and gimmicks are you doing? What are you currently doing? You know, all this stuff. You know, I always ask like a whole lot of questions all at once. So, you know, just try to work it out. If you need to come back, and I'll ask again. But
yeah, I got behind the curtain the first time in like the late 90s. I was like 16, 17, and somebody was finally like, "Hey kid, come here." I was working for a wrestling video store during the tape trade era, and one of the guys there left his booking sheet out on the counter that also worked there. And I'm reading these notebooks, and it dates back all the way to when him and his buddies were on their mattresses. The storyline was so drawn out, and it all led all the way up to a VFW show that they had like years just worth of notes just laying around. And I looked at him and I just said, "I want in. I'll do whatever you need."
What is VFW? If you don't mind. I'm not going to ask specific names of people, but
Veterans of Foreign Wars. Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Okay.
Like an American Legion or an Elks Lodge or something like that.
Okay. Just for people who don't know, go ahead.
But he said, "Okay, well, you can talk, so we'll put you on commentary. Just don't use your real name and do what you want." And I was like, "Okay, fine, whatever." Now, I was hearkening back to what I grew up watching on television at 8, 9 years old. I was watching Eastern Championship Wrestling and, ironically enough, watching you and Tommy bleed all over the fucking place.
Oh, okay.
That's the face. And people wonder why on my Tommy Cairo figure I used Bushwhacker Luke. That's why.
That's the one.
It's even better.
Exactly.
My dog ate my teeth. Yeah, it's even more like him.
It's such a good figure.
But I grew up watching that, and through the years evolved. Yeah, right? Explains a hell of a lot. Balls Mahoney told me before he died that if I had gotten in the ring in 99 instead of 2001, that I probably would have been there when the doors closed instead of breaking in shortly after they closed.
Yeah. See, but I feel the same.
I take that in a weird way, though, because I'm like, oh, the end really wasn't the best of fucking times in that company if if you think about beyond what was shown on camera.
Earlier. Yeah. It seems to be a lot of people could have fit in certain errors that just came later, and it's a shame that we didn't have a lot of people back then that exist now, because they probably would have just blended in like perfectly.
Yeah.
So
but he brought me in under commentary, and it was what it was. I'm doing play-by-play. I got the script in front of me. I'm saying what he wants me to say, and I accidentally uttered out an "oh my god" a la Joey Styles, and he decided to fire me on the spot.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. A guy flies over the barricade into the second row. That kind of deserving of that. If it's the only high spot you've seen all show.
Right. Huh, weird.
The boys pop for it.
Yeah, and it's like how we're gonna do and name certain things. It's like it's the same thing. It's you're paying respects to a formidable and big name, so there's nothing shameful about that. But when you're my student and you come in after the Benoit thing and you put a crippler crossface on the kid, I throw your ass out. That's the difference.
If you're doing it just to be a smart ass, there's.
Well, that's not the time.
But as far as my training goes, I wasn't really properly trained. I went to a local school in 2000. It was NWA New England. Rather not name a lot of names, but
they know who
the guys that were running the place. It was a business. It was an NWA affiliation. Tommy knows what that's like. I did it myself in 2012. I was they found out I could run the ropes and I could take a few bumps. So they kept saying, okay. They basically looked at me and said, oh, okay, you're going to be our fucking bump guy. So night after night, I'm sorry, I'm using a phone that I don't know. Being the bump guy night after night, fine, I'm doing this, but really, what's it getting me? You're not teaching me anything outside of go out there and get your ass kicked. They'd look at me savage. You know what you're doing? Get my ass kicked. You know what match? 3. All right.
Did they know anything themselves to have anything to teach you?
You'd think with the pedigree behind one of the names there that there would have been, but I don't think it to me, it doesn't make sense to do training a certain way and have one guy have the name sitting there collecting the money versus, being in I understand, at Kowalski's, after a certain age, Walter can't climb in the ring, so he's going to sit there and collect the checks. But until the day he couldn't climb those steps, he got in the ring and worked with people.
And then he was standing.
Whether they could understand what he was saying or not was another thing. But so when the school ended up actually closing down due to an issue with the city, I did the old school method of I took my gear and every sign at every building that would say Live Pro Wrestling this weekend, I would make sure to show up 3.5 hours before the show, making sure that the ring was either just getting there, and I would leave my bag in the car, introduce myself, hi, the bullshit of it, the locker room bullshit you got to do. It's silly, but it makes a lot of sense in the long run. Mm-hmm. And I'd set up, and 90% of the time, hey, you got gear with you? Yeah. All right, we're going to battle royal tonight. Or, hey, somebody didn't show up. You want to put this guy over? Sure. Or, hey, we got a student we want to try out. So I learned more just
by being around. You show up enough, and whether or not you've had real extensive training, you can get trained as you're going along now, because you're able to work with people that have been trained, and sometimes that's how a lot of people learn.
And in my day, everybody that wanted to learn was there to train in the ring the minute it was set up. Hopefully the ring guy got there and gave you that amount of time to get in there and roll around. So every show you go to and set up the ring, you may have somebody different that wants to work out. Hey, what are you doing? Come on, let's get 20 minutes. We'll roll around a little bit. So now you're getting
one of the shows, Jimmy Snuka got in the ring and started working out with me. I was like I'm not going to get thrown around by Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah.
Tommy, you know that when I ran TCW and all those boys that I had there, they were very young, and sometimes they had trainers and sometimes they didn't. New Jack and Stevie Richards would stop by quite often to work with them, but otherwise, they were pretty much in the ring with each other, doing what they knew how to do already, and then what they got brushed up on with the trainers, and then they learned how to work as they worked the shows. So but to have a show every 3 weeks, you learn how to work really quick when it's a situation like that.
Well, I kind of started out the same way. I only trained for a couple of months, and Teddy gave me and Davey G the ring and the truck, and said, "Here's the dates, go." And we were working 3 nights a week at that point, and we would set up the ring, work out, back to the hotel, come and wrestle, take the ring down, and get in a truck and go home or go to the next. We were up in Burlington, Vermont, but that's really the best training I had was then, because now it's one-on-one.
I tried telling people, I'm like, I've been around 22 years because I shut my mouth and I listened. I wasn't worried about getting my own shit in or worried about what I was doing. I was paying attention to what the booker was doing, to what the agents, if we had them, was doing. I was paying attention to what the sound guy was doing, lights and camera if it existed. I was paying attention to every aspect of the business because I know in my heart that I'm not a great wrestler. I'm a journeyman. I'm out there to entertain. I'm out there to have a good time. I'm not a physical specimen, and I know I'm not going to be that guy. But if I can do every other job in the business behind the curtain, I might just be useful to somebody somewhere.
And you're
now with saying that, let me just ask you, first off, who were some of your favorite opponents to wrestle, and then who do you think you learned the most from within the business during the time that you're actively wrestling, and like that you have an opinion like this of yourself? So
a lot of the guys that I wrestled, you probably wouldn't even know. A lot of my in-ring stuff was just regional in like the New England area. I didn't start actually meeting the important people until about 2012 when I started my own promotion.
Okay. Oh, so then what other roles did you take on in wrestling other than wrestling, actually? And
I've been a booker, I've been a referee, I've been commentary, I've been straight play-by-play, I've been a cameraman, I've been a sound guy, I've run lights. I've been the guy that's just there to make sure the place looks good on camera, and then I disappear into the back row and watch the show till the end of the night. I've been the guy that sleeps in the truck. I've been the guy that's arranging hotels for people. I've been the agent. I've literally held every conceivable job in this business that does not involve some sort of championship belt around my waist, because anybody in the business that gives a shit about that's in the business for the wrong reasons.
Now, what promotions would you say were probably your favorite to work for in any role, doing any of the things?
Even as a job guy, the New England Wrestling Alliance and the Rhode Island Wrestling Alliance helped because it was a lot of local guys that were like, okay, another local guy who's actually got a passion for the business. So they would show me things along the way. I learned a lot through them. But then, Fred Richards, when he was vice president of the National Wrestling Alliance, introduced me to Phil Varlese at NWA Coastal, where I first met Iron Man Tommy Cairo.
Okay.
My baby, that was.
And I was told to just come in, and they were going to put me over on this guy, Fredo Majors. And Fredo was going to be brought to the ring with his manager, luscious Laron Bowman. And Fredo, I don't really remember too much about. He was kind of like, I don't know, a little full of himself, in my opinion, backstage. The match was fine.
He worked for me, and I don't even remember him. I don't know.
But I came in with a kendo stick, and Phil looked at me and went, Tommy Cairo's here. And I said, oh, shit, let me go pay my respects. And I brought the kendo stick over to Tommy. And I said, I know this was your shtick. I do have one night. Is it okay? And he hits himself in the head with it a couple times. He says, yeah, that's good.
To make sure it's
hands it to me, and
good, Tommy.
The whole match didn't even use the damn thing the whole match. At intermission, Fredo and Laron are dancing in the middle of the ring, just getting heat. I'm at the bar going to buy a beer. Phil looks at me and he goes, I'll buy you a beer right now if you go cane those two assholes so we can restart the show.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Good stuff.
Got in the ring, said, sorry, boys. Boss says I got to do it.
That's all.
Awesome.
And it was the first time. I had been around 10 years at that point, and it was the first time I'd actually known what it felt like to get over, because even though it was intermission, the whole crowd was like, oh, shit, this is real.
Great stuff. So let me ask you, Steve, other than while you were growing up, what is there any other sports that you played, or any other activity you were involved in? I know the answer.
No.
Anyone else?
The only sport I actually ever indulged in was beer league ice hockey, and I didn't even start doing that until about a year and a half before COVID.
Were you a goon?
Oh, I'm totally a goon. I'm not a great skater, so I sit in the penalty box so the guys with the skill don't have to. Awesome. It's very much like the wrestling industry. I know my position.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I totally heard on that. So now, more recently, you were involved in some local here. What would be local shows? You want to get a little bit into that and what your involvement is in?
That it's a little side project. I have been a ring announcer and referee, and I've been recently put in charge of ring crew for the next month and a half of dates they have for Micro Wrestling All-Stars. It's okay for me to say it in this context. It's a midget wrestling company.
It actually, they preference midget. We covered that in a previous show, that one of the smaller groups of little people that actually preference the word midget. So you could
in the context of wrestling, it's perfectly fine. People were like, you can still say that? I said, as long as there's a wrestling ring. I wouldn't go up to Peter Dinklage and say it, but
most older people wouldn't even know what you were talking about if you said micro. Midget. Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Midget. You know? But micro,
so it's,
and it comes as a surprise when you actually see the talent that's available. Now, let's get into like some of the gimmicks that they have. Are they like, little Hulk Hogan's and stuff like that? Do they do that?
Believe it or not, they actually, it's very much their own individual characters. Bronx Thug, if you look at him, he looks like New Jack, but he works he works completely differently, unless depending on what is needed. There's Meatball, just a guy he's as short as he is round. I love him. Rich, if you're watching, I love you, buddy. I'll see you in about a week. Lieutenant Dan does like the little military gimmick, but he's heel.
Cute.
Like he comes out and everybody's like, yeah, and then he's like, fuck this country, and they're like, boo, you suck. I have never seen a group of fans, like the people that come to see our shows aren't wrestling fans. Very few wrestling fans come to see these shows.
Is there like shows
I saw a guy
and stuff, or
it's bar shows. We did one at a strip club. We did one at a theater where the ring was up on a stage.
Okay.
It's really
and then we just recently this past weekend did the Showboat.
Oh, nice. Showboat Casino. So look out for Micro Wrestling. Steve, a part of that. You try to check that out. Beyond
come out and check that out. It's touring. I think in the coming weeks we got Louisiana, Chicago, Missouri, I think back to New Jersey, and maybe Connecticut, but don't quote me on those last two.
And they're drawing well too.
You got girls there. You got women midgets, female midgets, right?
There are sometimes there are. There was recently a couple mother-daughter tandem who like to work each other. The daughter's kind of green, breaking into the business.
Nice.
They use a very small crew. They get a lot out of it.
They're really very small.
I didn't even mean it.
Very small.
Seriously, it's like they do what happened with me when I took over the Yardville. We did the whole show with 6 guys. This guy in a mask, you come back, you do a run in. But it worked. I mean, it was
great. It's a 2-hour show.
Yeah, 2 hours, Very
now, more recently, at one of these shows, Tommy, did you head over there and have some participation in the show? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, the funny part is I left long before, not long before, but slightly before anybody actually stepped in the ring. Reason being is I picked up Steve, and we came back to my house. I showed him the room. So I'm only 30 minutes from there.
Right.
Then we zipped back. So I picked him up probably around maybe before noon. And then I was there. I sat down.
Yeah, we hung out for a couple hours, shot the shit.
Yeah, I talked to a bunch of young people. They were all Mark Mess students. And they sat there and they were like very thankful that I sat there. And the whole random, anything I could think about that I could utilize to help them. And it just kept rolling like I do. And
like a free seminar.
Yeah, it was. And one of the owners dragged this kid in who was right. You could tell him that because you've seen it. I was part of it. When what's his name, brought the fan in. You remember?
One of the producers of the show brought a fan in who walked by and did a double take and didn't even know the midget show was happening. Just did a double take because he recognized Tommy sitting there talking to everybody.
Oh, awesome!
Oh, and he came in and he was hugging me, and I'm like, how is he? He must have been watching it on 24/7 because he's 28 years old.
Right.
Barely,
yeah.
I could have been.
That's how a lot of people are catching it, Tommy.
Yeah.
It's on. It's there.
It was great. I took a picture with him, and it was good because if you weren't sure that I was anybody of any note because you're new to the business and you're students, I didn't know what they knew of me or not. From all I know, they might think I'm some kind of wacko that,
No one thinks you're shit.
I mean, they're right, but
we're all some kind of wacko in our own ways.
But that was like cool because they were like, oh wow, this guy was so excited, and it was nice, and I just had a great time. And then I said, I'm out. When Steve kind of told me, I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay just for support. But when Steve told me that he mentioned it to, I guess the owners or the main guy, maybe we'll mention that Iron Man Tommy Cairo's here. He said no. I said, well, my obligation is over then. I don't get mad about it. I just, if Steve don't need me and I spent some time, I did some good. I talked to some kids. If he wanted me to stay or thought reasonably that it could help or wouldn't hurt, or just out of respect, it's not going to hurt him. But since he decided,
we still got rid of the 8x10s that I had you sign. Still ended up getting rid of those.
Yeah.
Great.
So I don't care. I got my son's 350Z, and
So leading into that, Tommy and Steve, you guys have an upcoming project together called The Heart of Wrestling Radio, and also a sort of a brand, and with Snug Life. So you guys want to get into explaining every little thing there is about that? Take it away, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve, and then whatever you don't cover, I'll cover.
Heart of Wrestling, like I explained before we started rolling, it's kind of it's going to be a radio show with a different angle to what's currently being done between other podcasts and other shows that are happening. Going to focus more on the not so well-known people, or the people that should have gotten a little more recognition than maybe they should have, than maybe they did. Or the people that are like, hey, these guys are getting up there in age now. Let's do something for them while they're still here. instead of having their kid accept an award a decade after.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar premise to what we're doing, bringing in and interviewing these people. But I think the focus I really was thinking about was that, like, we have a show that you and I do that is great because we stay in that sweet era. But the fact that, like, you don't watch a lot of it, and I only watch it because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything and that it's not getting better. So within 10 minutes of watching anything, the first stupid thing I see, I'm out. But now I can weigh in.
I need to step away for a moment.
Go on.
Go ahead. I have tried to watch it. And every time I do, I don't get far before I'm just blown away by what I see. So therefore, it gives me...
I had to step away for a moment. I need a cigarette.
It gives me the opportunity...
You can have a cigarette on air.
Yeah. What do you think this is?
Yeah, the problem is they were in the kitchen.
Oh, all right. But, I have a plan I have had in my head for a long time that I think could get the business back on track. But I don't want to seem like, well, what do you don't even care about wrestling today. No, I do care enough to watch it, but I can't watch it long because I will not sit there and be humiliated by myself and embarrassed alone in my room. I'm embarrassed for what I see. So it'll give us, and plus, because he's more mobile than I am. So we can get him when he's out doing these little things, especially like this micro wrestling. I mean, it's wrestling. I don't care. These guys need coverage and to be seen by more than just the crew that's seeing them. Now,
hopefully, the promoter will let you allow you to film some stuff and stream it and use it. Because if you're there and you're working the show, you should be able to do that, Steve. You know what I'm saying?
When he's drawing 400 people and there's no camera crew,
no camera,
there's a problem.
Wow.
I saw a camera crew at one show and it was back in December.
Yeah, but you know what? Nowadays, there's enough people that actually hang around shows. There's always one or two that you could grab that will use their phone, to
easily. All they got to do is ask.
So, sometimes it just takes you get a link sent to you, press that link and leave the phone on a tripod and walk away. That's all.
That's
right.
A big part of this, I don't need to really be involved in anything more than I'm already involved in. But I've looked at, like, the Lord puts people in your life. I see a guy who knows the history of the business, respects the business, okay? Still tries to do things the right way, tries to teach other people the right way. That's, to me, a rarity. So for the age difference that him and I have between us, the bridge is gapped. The gap is bridged. And his demeanor and his eye and his mind, knowing me, knowing where I came from, we have this connection. And it's I look at it like this. I don't mean to sound like I'm anybody great, but I'm doing this as much for Steve as I am, probably more so than I am for myself. Only because there's a vehicle that we can use that he can, grow from, add to his arsenal, add to his resume, and it includes me. So I feel good about that, and I'm going to impart whatever I can, and I'm going to take from him the things that I have diminished in my 64 years. I don't have the same energy, I don't have the same enthusiasm, but through him I can get that back. And together, just like you and I, there's a certain chemistry. I wouldn't do this if the chemistry didn't exist, like similar to what we have, which is, a loyalty, respect. We know each other a long, long time. We care about each other. And, this guy, I'm looking at him now and I'm saying, if his beard gets a little grayer and I keep my glasses on, it's like you hang around. I saw this couple today, and I know that
there was a picture of me and Justin Credible. People thought he was my father.
Yeah. I met this couple, and they look them with their dog all look the same.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
talking about like the features. I could not believe that they weren't brother and sister. I'm like, I guess you see that in couples that have been around forever, like they look alike. So,
So what is your you guys like? I know we talked a lot about this project in the past. So what is your future focus on? What exactly your plan is for the? I know you guys already set up a group over on Facebook. If people want to go over that, the Heart of Wrestling Radio, join that. And you guys got a YouTube, right?
Yeah, we have a YouTube, and I believe anything we do from StreamYard will go immediately to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Okay,
awesome. So again, back to your focus on exactly other than interviews with people, and so what do you have planned? To a weekly chat. Is it just like random chat, or do you have things planned? And what's your entire focus on?
Well, one of the main things we talked about was picking a group of feds that we can watch, right, and probably excluding mostly AEW and WWE, unless there's something really, because I want to focus on the talent before they go there and get destroyed.
So more of the independent wrestling.
Independent guys that I have a couple that I watch MLW, I watch Defy. There's a couple. And I don't have to turn the TV off all the time right away. Sometimes I can get a little further into the show, and some shows are better than others. But MLW has been around forever. And their product's pretty good, And this is a place where all the talent that's out there that hasn't gone to either of the big two. And
now, for people who don't know, what does MLW stand for?
Major League Wrestling.
Okay. Where's that come from?
I'm not sure where they're based out of, but they tape it at 2300. They're one of the groups that tapes there. I'm not sure who else is taping there, but I'm sure there's a couple.
Mm-hmm.
I think GCW goes there too. Game Changer.
Yes, that's true. So, I still have a passion for like seeing a guy that's young and up and coming, and saying to myself, "There's a guy that we can make into something. There's a guy that can. He's already. I can see it. He's got the. I talk to him. He's got a good attitude. He looks good. He takes care of himself. He dresses decent when he comes to the place. He's helpful. A lot of things that Steve was talking about, that these young guys see. What people don't understand is these guys, most of the people that graduate from these so-called schools would never, ever have been considered eligible to ever get in a professional wrestling ring, whether it was an indie fed or not. You go back 20, 30 years ago, they'd be laughed out of the building. Everybody's trained with weights in the old days. Everybody, unless you were a 350-pound monster, everybody had experience in the weight room training. They went there drunk, high, hungover, like Flair. Flair was in that little stupid gym that they got in every little Marriott with the little, half high or drunk, but he still got it in. And he wasn't a bodybuilder, but for all the
it's about staying healthy and keeping in shape. And then, that's why he can still get in the ring and pull off like wrestle, training with these young guys like at his age and still wrestle a full great match. But, Steve, tell me a little bit about Snug Life.
Snug Life is, if you remember the old thing in the 90s where everybody was doing Thug Life and they had like the cartoon Bugs Bunny and the cartoon Taz dressed like Tupac and shit.
Yes.
It's going to kind of be similar to that, except more wrestling based. Not so much that we're going to have like Tommy Cairo dressed like Tupac in cartoon form, but more along the lines of shirts that you don't expect to see.
Tommy, can you pull it up on your phone and hold it up to the screen and show us the Snug Life symbol.
Yep.
We get a little idea of exactly what I'm talking about. I keep blurting out Snug Life. No one knows what I'm talking about yet, but they will.
Yes, they will, because it's representative. Not only is it a brand, but it's a life. It's a way of life for certain people. Not everybody in the wrestling business is eligible for Snug Life, because a lot of guys shy away. Why? I had to work with Manny for 2 years because nobody else would work with him. Snug Life. It's a philosophy. It's a way of life. Everything we do a little bit hard, a little bit overdone, a little bit abusive to our own bodies. That's the Snug Life.
There you go.
And you don't get at that without damage. So Snug Life, a guy that we showed an ear. It's harkening back to the old days, so we want to have that look. But the bandana with the knot in the front.
Yeah, pull it up, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm gonna
pull your phone, because it's better to see than to try to understand. But
I am so pissed my old phone broke. All the pictures and shit were on it. I couldn't access any of it anymore.
Now, Steve,
I had to redo my whole Gmail.
On like t-shirts and different products for Snug Life.
Yeah,
there's going to be the typical merch table.
Okay, great.
So we will have a couple.
Once we find a distributor and figure out whether we're doing drop ship or not.
Now I know you guys both have an event coming up at the what is it? The arena there with. Oh, here we go. It went off, Tommy.
Hold on. Where are you?
Actually, I was just on this. Okay, so here's an advertisement for an upcoming event that you guys have. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you do it.
The 2300 podcast is going to be setting myself and Tommy up, as well as a couple other of their talents that they work with, at a booth at Icon's Fan Fest and Convention this year. I think it's August 6th, and it's at the 2300 Arena, which I know for you two isn't a big deal, and the place isn't the shithole that it used to be, but for me, that's going to be my first time at a wrestling convention and my first time in that building.
Oh.
So to me, I'm going to probably mark out a little bit when I see that wall.
Now, are you guys going to do an episode of the Heart of Wrestling Radio from the arena?
We're damn sure going to try if we can get a quiet enough spot to do something.
Yeah, even if not, like, maybe you could stroll around the building and get some interviews for,
He can stroll. I have to roll.
Yeah, if you stroll, roll.
I'm gonna get Tommy a Segway. I got a wheelchair in my trunk. I'm going to put a motor on it for you.
I'm not too proud. When I go to Walmart, I get right on that fucking cart. I don't give a shit.
Hey, you need to. If you crash into a few things, they don't mind.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's more fun to go there.
Be even better if they sell it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what is the date of that, Steve, event?
That is August 6th.
Okay.
I believe the convention opens at 10 a.m.
Tommy, did you get Snug Life? I didn't see Snug Life. You didn't pull up Snug
Life.
So August 6th at the arena. So you guys could get a chance to go out and see Iron Man Tommy Cairo and Steve Savage present an episode of the Heart of Wrestling Radio. They will be there with, again, Steve, who you guys going to be with?
The 2300 Wrestling Podcast.
Okay, so
which I'm actually recording their show tomorrow night.
Oh, great. Okay, so Steve's going to be on the 2300 podcast, which is also coming up. You could Google that and look for it. I'm sure it'll come up. And let's see. Oh, there goes Snug Life. There we got Snug Life.
And guess what else was born out of this? Knife Life. I'm going to be sharpening knives and making custom knives. I'm not kidding. Knife Life.
Home Shopping Network, Tommy Cairo.
Full of the ear on there.
What's that? Yeah.
Are you going to put now? If for people who don't know, the symbol of Snug Life is an ear, a cauliflower ear with the bandana wrapped around it to hold it together.
Right.
You want to further explain that, Tommy or Steve?
Yeah. First of all, the ear is really representative of days gone by. Okay. Doctor has told me I had the beginnings of it. So I rub my ears every night. No. So it's a badge of honor, and our heart is that. We just weren't in that era. If you're not working with Manny or a guy like him, people are going to complain, because there's a lot of sissies that shouldn't be in the business. So my idea was that to create something that's familiar. Down here in New Jersey at the beach, we got Salt Life. I had a T-shirt that had a kitten on it, and it said Hug Life. Now we got Snug Life. So when you show this is maybe not the final design. Final design may be more of a 3/4 of the side of a face with the cauliflower ear and the blackened eye to signify the old days when somebody would say, "Can you give me a hard way?" And the guy hits you for real, bloodies your eye or puts a cut over your eye. And the bandana in color, basically, even though it's black and white, it's like colorful compared to what we're going to be, the ear and the head. It signifies the new part of it. Snug is the thug thing, and Snug Life is now mixed with the old. So the ear as of old and the bandana for new. You could maybe bring an old timer, time travel back, forward to now, and he would say, "All right, I'll wear the bandana," So we might be able to get an old timer under the right pretense and in a respectful way if he gets the idea of what we're trying to say. Snug Life. We just like, remember I used to say, we like it snug, so lay it the fuck in.
Okay, which is I saw that's one of your phrases there on your page.
Yeah, hold on, because on our show, I'm going to unveil this, because you and I have already established a couple of ideas that we put together, and then I had come up with ideas.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted you to actually get into that because you have ideas for T-shirts and a line of merchandise.
Yeah. See, now this
project.
The idea here is if anybody most of the old people who know the history will probably know who the Continental Nobleman was. But we don't run into any problem because we're not putting his name. Well, people in the know or want to know will be told that's Joe Turco. He was a very famous jobber, journeyman wrestler, and he had from Catania, Sicily, and he would give you and all of this in the ring, and he would twirl his little mustache, and this is him, had old days, where you would come into a town, you actually moved there into a territory. So you did have more than one bag. This is everything he brought with him to move from an apartment where he left most of his furniture and took whatever he could and headed to, at this point, WWF, and worked for Vince through all New England and all the East Coast. But, this is not everybody's cup of tea, meaning that not everybody knows who this is, and that's not a problem because the people that do will educate them, and they'll go home and they'll look up Joe Turco. So this is one that I came up with during our show. So this will be sold on our show. We'll probably sell it on both shows, as we will, I think, everything that we have. So this is the first one that was done. Snug Life is being completed as we speak. And then from the previous ideas were, Double Shot, Spirit of 76.
Double Shot. And,
Remember when?
Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit into with Steve with the future plans of the Heart of Wrestling Radio. We were talking about a little bit earlier the different ideas that you guys had. You want to get into that a little bit?
Go ahead, kid.
Without too many details, because nothing's set in stone yet, but we were throwing an idea around this weekend just because we were at the Showboat. We're in that tri-state area. see if we can do an ECW reunion, but not
Easter
a reunion that everybody is going to mark out for, but we want the people that appreciate the business to know the pre-Paul Heyman and potentially even pre-Todd Gordon Eastern Championship Wrestling.
Is this part of the Heart of Wrestling Radio? This is a part of that, or this is a separate?
It's going to kind of be included in it. Like we'll be interviewing like a lot of the people from that era, anybody that's still alive and whatever, and maybe even do like a banquet for them.
But
a little appreciation night.
Excluding most of the people that claim
we're beyond 93, right? 94. I get you.
Yeah, basically, once you hit 95, you're pretty much persona non grata after that.
Okay, and then as far as the intent, I know you guys spoke a lot about different ideas you had. Tommy, you want to get on some of those ideas? As far as like shows and things to benefit families and whatnot.
Here's the thing. There's no way on God's green earth I will ever be a part of a regular promotion, running shows regularly. Never going to happen. Our idea would be for probably like once a year, an awards ceremony. And we're talking about the guys that we were talking about bringing in for certain things that have a similar situation and or story to us. We're left out, we're long gone, that didn't stay around for the bullshit. And those are the originals. So, the Larry Winters, God rest his soul, but, that whole crew of people, the Tony Stetsons and Hunter Q. Robbins, we were thinking about all the people that we could pull in that don't get any credit for that. What about the, Lex and Bob and Lex. Of course.
And there's me.
Of course. That goes without saying. That's how you.
We just assumed you were going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what I mean? And do a once a year award ceremony, banquet show, and use whoever is still decent enough shape to work. And even guys that were like, maybe, even that were even there than later, but didn't stay and left. And I still have contact with, like, I would get Nunzio. He's a good friend of mine, even though he was a part of a time that we were no longer there. I never had a problem with him. I worked with him a million times. He's a good kid, but we would be leaving out. You would guess who they would be. But when you start
I'm sorry, Tommy, for a second. I'm getting a weird feedback. One of you guys have a fan on or something?
I do, but it's been on the whole time. How's that?
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Well, okay. We'll continue. That's better. It's better than it was.
But it's been like this. It's been here the whole time. It's been on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can still hear you, which is what's important. So the focus of this is to bring back ECW originals, to tribute, and run a show and maybe a not a convention, but just
awards,
tribute and awards
banquet and. Yeah,
originals.
It's not something that we just were like hanging out and started thinking, wow. Because honestly, it's born of making a point, really. Like, you've left certain people out, guess what? Now we're leaving you out. So all you guys who thought you were the shit and thought that you came up with everything, that we were there and built the room, we set the table, we laid out the food, and you sat down for dinner. So we're going to bring that without saying anything. We're only going to invite certain people, and anybody that any of us don't like, they're not going to be on the card. and we're going to make it, with all these people, Barbara and Lex. Do you remember that couple that were the EMTs? I think the one girl took off with
Rosemary.
Yeah. Just anybody that I could think of that will get the hat guy in an audience.
Oh yeah, John's around still. He's doing some work on the Indies, managerial stuff.
Maybe we'll get some of those security.
Never worked an ECW show, but was always in the front row, so I guess that counts as an ECW original, huh?
Well, I would put him in the front row.
He got just as much damn camera time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, probably more than anyone. He was always there, along with Sarge and Bob and all those guys that were always in the front row. I can go on and on with the front row people that were just like some of them.
The guy that looked like Rob Zombie, who was always sitting in like the second row.
Yes, and some of them were like bigger gimmicks than some of the wrestlers themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And it would, that would be a lot of fun to gather some of those guys up that are still alive, and
like ECW Superfan Award.
Yeah, and all the people again who've been left out, neglected, and not given credit for building something before anybody else got there. So it's just an idea. As I get older, I have ideas in my good days, and then I'm like, why did I get that rolling? Because here I go again with something else.
And I'm probably going to catch heat. I'm probably going to catch heat for this, but to the people that say, "Oh, why do something for the fans? Why are you going to give an award to a fan?" I'm like, because without those fans, there wouldn't have been careers. There wouldn't have been food on everybody's table. There wouldn't have been an ass seat at the show.
Yeah, that's a pretty ignorant.
Fans that were loyally there every single.
You'd be surprised the shit, especially here in the Northeast, that I hear from people, and it's just bullshit. I'm like, yes, let the super fan get in the locker room and interview the people for his YouTube show. He's been at every show for a decade. Let him in.
You saw my room. Where do you think I got these pictures?
From fans.
Anybody take them? I come to a show and get a whole pack of pictures from the show before.
Listen, without the fans, you don't have a show. You got nothing.
I wouldn't have.
I was working security at a mall, and Chuck Liddell was signing autographs at the Dave & Buster's, and I was doing a show that following weekend in that city, and Liddell recognized me from my face being on the damn flyer. So
I actually worked with Chuck Liddell. One of his first matches in Canada was actually one of my third or fourth matches when I debuted MMA in Canada for IFC. So Chuck Liddell, I actually personally worked the show with. Good guy.
Yep. You'd be surprised the shit he told me about UFC backstage. Oh boy.
You know what? I have a whole video about some MMA inside stuff, but I'll forward that another time. Good stuff. So we've learned in this hour all about the Heart of Wrestling radio, and it's soon to be debut. And can't wait for that. So you guys are on Facebook and YouTube, correct?
Yeah, we'll be on Monty and Farrell.
Oh, okay. So there's already a deal worked out, I guess.
He said you get us the material and we'll put it on.
Okay, great. So
we're just working out the details, lining up guests, and figuring out final formats and
we're gonna
like that.
We did. We're gonna put a whole bunch down and then give them, when we're ready. And
that's whatever works. So
if it works, we keep it. If it don't, we scrap it.
Yeah, and I'm not putting any expectations or any limitations. That being said, meaning that right now it's an experimental thing, and we, we'll see as we go along. There's no saying it's ever going to go anywhere. We have intentions to, but it's not scheduled to. We just want to get it down, see what it looks like, see what works, what doesn't work. Maybe give them an episode before or maybe we'll debut it on our show as a special.
Right. Well, not really sure. It sounds like a great idea, Tom and Steve. And I look forward to debuting this. It just, as far as it sounds, I think fans will really enjoy the concept of it, and it's something different to bring back. It's something that everyone doesn't do these days. So, look out for the Heart of Wrestling Radio with the Iron Man Tommy Cairo and Steve Savage coming soon on YouTube and Monty Pharaoh and Facebook and wherever else.
Angel, we're going to drag you into this too, so be prepared.
You're going to have to get out of the house at some point.
We may have to strap a camera to your butt and let you, whatever you get, you get.
Maybe. So
Princess Cam, that'd be an interesting shot.
It sure would. Until we get to all that, hope you've enjoyed this episode of Wrestling Rewind, and with our special guest, Steve Savage. Steve, would you like to say any closing words?
No, great being on here. I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of each other in the future.
Yes. So
it's a hell of a good-looking crew, I'll tell you that. Him and I can put our heads together and make an ass out of ourselves. And, you got. So we're in good shape.
We got whatever we got.
Hey,
so hopefully you
look the same as you did 30 years ago.
Oh, well, I try. I don't know. I really don't try, actually.
You succeed.
Here it goes. But hopefully you'll join us for Wrestling Rewind and the Heart of Wrestling Radio. We're on Monty and Pharaoh every Sunday at 7 p.m., so catch us there. And for my co-host, the Iron Man Tommy Cairo, I am Angel Amoroso saying have a nice night and a nice life. Good night.